In our next session, we've invited 4 specialists from Microsoft to share their experience and direction on project-based solutions and where the tools are headed, and how these solutions are impacting 3 different industries. Our first Microsoft speaker is Chuck Thibodeau. As an enterprise project management solution sales professional, Chuck is responsible for ensuring that customers understand the value of solutions built around the Microsoft platform and project suite of tools. Chuck has spent 37 years in the portfolio and project management industry in various roles, including pre-sales support, business consulting, account management, business development, sales, and consulting leadership for various project management software and consulting services companies. During that time, Chuck has worked with clients in almost every sector, including automotive, healthcare, financial services, high tech, pharmaceutical, aerospace, defense, manufacturing, telecommunications, retail, and utilities. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Chuck. Chuck, could you please share your screen?
And there we go. Can we see it?
Yep, you're good to go, Chuck.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah. And thanks everybody for attending, and a special shout out to Rob and his slide on the history of project management reminded me how old I am. I did start out in the very early days. I drew Gantt charts and PERT charts by hand. My first online tool was Artemis on the mainframe. My first PC tool was Microsoft Project DOS. So Rob and Sarah asked me to come in and just kind of give a little bit of a high level view of Microsoft and some of the trends that we've seen, and some of the changes that we're making on the tools. It's hard to do in the 15 minutes, but I want to leave you with a couple key messages, and I'll make sure I highlight them as we go along. The first one, of course, is our strategy. Overall, one of the things that we continue to focus on and make sure that we're doing is providing tools that allow teams, project teams, to work the way they want, align with their processes as best we can. But the key thing is to make sure that executives and decision makers are getting information they need to help run the business. Now, over the past few years, of course, we've taken a look at project management from a number of different lenses and identifying problems. The problems haven't changed, on time, under budget. A lot of the metrics around, customer successes and company successes and delivering projects haven't changed much. So we keep evolving the tools more around keeping up with technology platforms and maybe keeping up with some trends in processes that are being adopted. And bearing in mind that Microsoft's got one of the largest communities, so we try to be very process agnostic, and we try to be very focused on being able to get tools to be flexible, and that can present its own challenges. But a couple of things did emerge over the past few years, and Rob highlighted a bit in the Gartner's views on the way that the tools are being adopted at a lower level. A couple of the things that we've noticed and what's forced us to start rethinking our project management tools and platform is the teams choosing the tools they want. And that really came about because of some of those lower end tools that Rob mentioned, the Smartsheets, the Asanas and stuff, and giving team members in different parts of the business more flexibility and being able to pick the tools of choice. Before all these tools came out, Excel was a big one. More projects run on Excel than anything else. And so we had to rethink the way that we were using the Microsoft platform to deliver the tools that were more supportive in the way that people wanted to use them. A big thing that came out, and a really key message for folks to take away, is this delineation between casual project managers and what we're going to call the professional project managers. Professional project managers are project managers by trade. It is their title. It is their day in, day out responsibility. They're assigned projects, and they're there to shepherd them from beginning to end. And we saw a large growth in what we're calling the casual project managers, which are folks that have a different role in the business. Could be an analyst, they could be a team member on other projects, but they're being asked to do project management work. And when we started taking a look at their use cases and taking a look at the way they wanted to use tools, it became obvious for us that our traditional platform, Microsoft Project and Project Server, wasn't going to work out well. What we saw were people moving from Excel into Planner because it was more graphical. And then people started asking us to put more things into Planner. And if they wanted a more traditional project management tool, folks were moving over into Microsoft Project. Well, it turned out to be too big, too complex. It wasn't what they wanted. And they fell back into Planner and started pushing us more. And so the two key things to think about here, the things that we've seen, is this need for making the tools more flexible, easier to use, and addressing this new community of casual project managers. And just go ahead and bring up this slide. There you go, be a little flashing there, it'll be easier to see than the build. And so, yeah, when we take a look at the tools that we have available to us in this world of work management, and kind of stepping away from the traditional project management term, we have a number of things that people traditionally use. We have tasks and teams to do, Planner, our newest tool, Project for the Web. We've got Project Online, and our another tool that we released recently for a specific use case around professional services organization, Dynamics. And when we take a look at the complexity that customers are involved in within their processes, or the people, we had to start aligning the capabilities. And we kind of divided things into two areas: unstructured tasks, or what you might be able to call task management, versus structured tasks, which then starts leaning more towards traditional project management. And one of the things you'll see there is, for instance, Planner is never intended to be, nor will it ever be, considered a project management tool. Are there people using it for project management type work? Yes. Are we going to take and put things in it like the scheduling engine or more resource management, things like that? No. That's where the casual project manager role started becoming more and more prevalent, and that's why we introduced Project for the Web. And so when you take a look at the different tools that are available, kind of keep in mind that we, Microsoft, have very specific use cases in mind for those tools, and we have very specific goals and visions for those tools. On the left, task management. On the right, project management. And Project for the Web is our latest introduction into the tools. It's based on the Power Platform, which you see to the right. It will be a Teams-centric tool. So it's a native Teams app. And then we're going to be using the rest of the Power Platform, Power BI, Power Apps in particular, to allow customers to extend the tool in a way that allows them to work the way they want to work. And that's one of the challenges we have. If we don't make it flexible enough, you're not going to be able to allow your teams to do the things that they want to do. So it's a double-edged sword. And then we have our traditional platform, Project Online, which is the PPM, the full-blown project program portfolio management tool that addresses more robust use cases around portfolio management, decision-making, resource management, and those types of things. And then to the right, Dynamics Project Operations, which was released recently, is very much targeted for the professional services industry. It's for projects where you have billable resources, and those billable resources are working on the customer's project. So it's your customers, and those billable hours can be invoiced for the work they do. So it's a very, very specific use case of identifying opportunities, to breaking down to a project by resources and having those resources billable, and then invoicing the end customer for the work they do. And so the key things to bear in mind is we do have a wide variety of tools. We're trying to address all the asks our customers have, but there is a method to our madness. And so to the one question about, do we have, it seems like it's a little chaotic right now. It is. And the next slide, I'll talk a bit more about that. So when we take a look at our overall platform, this is going to align a bit to the slideshow that Rob showed around kind of the Gartner way of thinking, or the way they're looking at what's happening in the industry. On the right side of the slide, you'll see Project Online, and that is our more strategic portfolio management, portfolio decision-making, program management tool set. kind of the legacy, the history, the things that have kind of evolved over time. And this new world that we're talking about, and that Gartner's highlighted in terms of work management and adaptive project management, is on the left. And we are absolutely going to be focused on the Power Platform to drive that. So we have a new data model sitting in the Dataverse, or what used to be called the CDS. We have an out-of-the-box app, Project for the Web, that's going to be suited for the project managers. And we're now deploying applications through the Power App system that's going to extend that project for the web to include issues management, risk management, status, more of the things that are traditional for a project execution. It's downloadable today. It's called the Content Pack for Microsoft Project. And that's a starter kit. It's a way of you being able to evolve the project for the web solution in a way that you want to work. All right. What's really key to point out here, though, is we understand the business needs and the executive needs to make decisions across multiple projects. And if we think about an enterprise environment where we have projects that are running in the business like HR or finance or other parts, and more strategic projects that might be running in product development or in IT, executives still want to see all of them. And that's where we are leveraging Project Roadmap, Project Home, and really, really important is Power BI, where we can pull from both data sources, the new world in Project for the Web and our strategic tool in Project Online, and bring those together. And there's a download called the Power BI Content Pack for Project that's going to allow you to take and bring this information. So a lot of the customers I talk to, and we talk about this world of strategic project management and kind of the tactical project execution side, they see that. And they also see a delineation in their project managers between professional project managers that may sit more on the strategic side of the house and the casual project managers that are sitting in this new world. And so we do have a method, we do have a vision of how we're going to try to bring these things together. Is it fully baked? Absolutely not, right? We're still looking at our customers, you, to tell us what to do. Rob mentioned the task fabric. If you think about all the tools within the Microsoft suite that can create work, we need to bring those together. And where is that going to be? Odds are it's going to land in teams. Odds are it's going to land in tasks for teams where work is assigned to people, and that's where it's going to show up. But one of the challenges we have is how do we do updates, right? Do we do simple updates of % complete or remaining effort, or do we have to provide a full timesheet that Chuck worked on project A, task B on Monday for 4 hours? So those are some of the things we're sorting through as we work with the customers to understand the adaptive, more flexible side of Microsoft Project. Okay. And, does this make it easier for our customers? Absolutely not. We're getting conversations all the time about confusion. And so I want to challenge you, if you're have an assigned Microsoft account manager, reach out to them, reach out to us and Rob, and we'll try to hook you up with the right person that's responsible for your customer or your company for Microsoft Project, and we can help walk through it. But in general, just know that we have 2 platforms that we're continuing to bring to market. The first one on the list is this new Project for the Web. That's where a lot of our investment's going on. That's where all of our thought process is now, is how we're going to evolve this new tool set to address the customers need around a flexible tool and casual project managers and stuff. And today it's bringing together, basic scheduling and boards, Kanban boards and Gantts, and we can use roadmaps and the Power BI to surface that. And it's really key to remember and understand it is based on the Power Platform. It is all going to be about Teams and Power BI and the Power Apps. And then we have our traditional tool set for strategic project management and portfolio management and decision making. And here's where if their use case is more around detailed resource management or time sheeting and things like that, then we have Project Online, and that's based on our SharePoint platform. And then the newest tool, the Dynamics tool for that specific use case around financial services and operations. And I think I am at time, if I'm not. Is that right, Sarah?
That's right.
Very good. Well, I want to thank everybody. And and again, thanks to Rob for reminding me how long I've been around at this. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks so much for sharing, Chuck. If anyone has any questions for Chuck, please type them into the live Q&A chat, and I will read them off at the end of the Microsoft Industry Experts session. So next up, we have Roman Fayola, who is a senior project specialist responsible for Microsoft Project Solutions in the retail and consumer goods industry vertical, covering the eastern half of the US. So Roman, you're up. If you could please share your screen.
Great. Thank you. Give me 1 second here. Let me know if you see it.
Yep, you're good to go, Roman.
All right, great. Thank you, Sarah. As Sarah mentioned, my name's Roman Fayola, and I specialize in the retail and consumer goods industry vertical of Microsoft. I've been in the project space for 4 or 5 years now, and this is actually my first year being dedicated specifically to retail. And it's obviously a very interesting time to be working in the retail and consumer goods industry. All right, here we go. Sorry, it just took a little bit there. So Chuck gave a nice layout of what kind of trends and how Microsoft sees the world all up from a project management perspective. I'm going to speak to retail and CPG industry sort of issues and concerns revolving around the PMO space, but really what's going on in the industry as a whole and what we're seeing. So a few of the topics I'm going to cover: COVID-19 disruption, curbside pickup, remote work, etc. General shift of the industry, the retail space to e-commerce, right? There's been a large uptick in that, and there are a lot of customers that compete against Amazon that have sort of been left behind and need to do some catching up. New product launches, general R&D, store changeover, and ultimately easy to use PMO tools that ensure what some folks have called smooth workflows. So I'm going to touch on each of these here now. So what we're seeing in the industry, right? COVID-19 disruption, and I'm going to speak to these from the project management perspective, but this is kind of just all up and what the new type of projects and programs that the PMO offices are working on based on what they're seeing in their industry. So remote work has become the norm, obviously. It's becoming much harder to onboard new people. So if you have a user that's new to the PMO and there's a kind of a heavy duty tool, it might take a little longer and it might be a little bit more difficult to onboard those folks since you don't have that in-person relationship, and it's not as easy as just tapping someone on the shoulder asking for some advice. With that same sort of not being in person to tap somebody on the shoulder mentality that's going on right now, we don't have as easy of updates to project statuses, right? So there are a lot of folks that saying, hey, I used to just go down the hall and ask this person where things stood. Now, because we're all working from home, I need a more automated way to do that. That's where some of our PMO tools come into play. Another big trend in the industry is that consumer expectations have shifted. A lot of the projects I see in the retail space are working on how to develop curbside pickup. It's almost becoming the norm and expected. Hey, and this was maybe a little bit more during 2020 when COVID was a little bit more rampant and folks saying, hey, I don't even want to walk into the store. I just want to order it online, have some in-store pickup and have you bring it to me. Another expectation is, kind of cleaner, much more open spaces for stores, right? I don't want to be jammed inside with a bunch of people. So some of our big box retailers, or for example, like a Century 21, where they have a lot of product on the floor and there's a lot of people next to each other, things have to shift in that sense. Again, also another consumer expectation is sort of the clear plastic physical barriers you may see, disinfectant wipes, having hand sanitizer stations. All those have become sort of expected now when you go into a brick and mortar store. Okay, great. And really another issue that a lot of my customers in the space are seeing is just the general shift of the retail industry more toward e-commerce. I forget what the percentages are, but since COVID-19, the percentage of retail being done via the internet versus brick and mortar is really astounding. So with digital transformation is kind of the buzzword that gets thrown around, but every retail brand has had to transform to an e-commerce brand. Stores and brands that were already undergoing digital transformation had a very clear edge. And during 2020, we saw a lot of customers come to Microsoft and saying, hey, all that stuff I said I wanted to do over the next 2, 3, 4 years, yeah, I want to do it in 3 to 6 months. How can we get that going? So there's been kind of a sprint to get that digital transformation moving forward. And then there's been a little bit of a sink or swim mentality in the industry. And there are certain brands that come to mind, like a Nike or an Apple, and I'm sure there's a lot more that our folks can think of. Chipotle, they're very sort of digital transformation forward, even for just a burrito company, right? They were prepared for this digital transformation takeover. There are other brands that struggled. Brooks Brothers, I mentioned Century 21 stores. Right, there's been a shift to athleisure, and Brooks Brothers didn't do much of a e-commerce, so they really struggled. Century 21, again, kind of a brick and mortar giant clothing retailer that has people on top of each other. So it really has become a sink or swim mentality within the retail space. Another issue that I see in the PMO groups, and pretty PMO focused, right? Where are your projects and your programs headed? A lot of that is to new product launches. COVID-19 provided the opportunity for fresh ideas and a way to innovate and have, come up with some new things. Again, the trend that I mentioned just is one that's kind of near and dear to me and most folks on the phone, I'm sure. The trend of athleisure for working from home versus kind of suits and dress clothes, right? If you're a dress shoemaker that relied on folks going in the office, you're probably struggling right now. So maybe it's coming up with a more casual shoe that can be worn at home, things like that. Obviously, the big box home retailer stores, the Home Depots and Lowe's of the world, they've seen an explosion in folks. Hey, that home project that I wanted to work on, I was thinking about doing over the next 2-3 years. Yeah, I want to do it right now, right? And we've seen sort of inventory issues in terms of things like lumber going way up in price, as well as supply chain issues. And I felt this front and center. I was home visiting family for the holidays, and washing machine broke. And I went to probably 3 or 4 different big box stores. I looked online. I couldn't, everything was out of stock. I went in person and I saw the factory models, but they didn't have anything for sale. It was, at the time, it was almost impossible to just, no matter what I wanted to spend, I couldn't buy a new washing machine. So it was just like, okay, this is the way the world is working right now. There are things we didn't anticipate. Everyone is trying to buy new washer dryers. Sorry, we just don't have any inventory. So along those lines, right? How can we use this knowledge to our advantage to develop new products and features that our customer might want? And how do we use our PMO tools to make sure, as Chuck mentioned, right, the standards haven't dropped. We want to finish our projects on time and hopefully under budget. How can we use the tools to get there? Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so store changeover. Physical stores need an upgrade, and oftentimes these upgrades happen through projects and programs. I'm thinking of a couple customers of mine that they're constantly rolling out new stores. They have a very large footprint, so rolling out new stores or store renovations is a big thing right now, right? Upgrading stores, like I mentioned, those physical barriers we come to expect, hand sanitizer stations, having masks available for those that don't want them or may need a new one, things like that. Longer, more spaced out checkout lines creates more traffic inside the store. I know I've seen it in some of the grocery stores I go to. Trying to navigate the aisles becomes a little bit harder when the checkout lines have these big spaces. So how do we do that? How do we change the layouts? Maybe don't have the sort of end displays that we see at the end of aisles. Maybe it's less, more products in the lesser used aisles from a high volume. Is it switching things around? A lot of that store changeover happens in different projects and programs that ultimately need a tool to manage. Another thing that customers, customers want to feel safe, and they want to know that their concerns are being taken serious from the store perspective, right? And those are just kind of levels of the new normal when it comes to shopping in brick and mortar. So there's some, grocery stores, for example, right? There is Instacart, but I think a lot of people still prefer in-person, in-person shopping when it comes to their grocery items. Whereas a store like Nike, if I know what size shoe I wear in most Nike brands, or I know what kind of shirt I wear in terms of is it a large versus an extra large versus a medium, it's pretty easy to go online and just pick out, look at the colors and the size and place an order. And I don't even have to go into a store. I don't have to go to a sporting goods store or a Macy's or anywhere like that. So different industry sort of factors play into who needs to do more of the store changeover and who doesn't. All right, great. And really the last thing I want to talk about, and I hopefully will spend a little bit more time on this, but I didn't want to repeat too much of what Chuck went over, is that there is a general trend in the industry that most folks are probably seeing, that ease of use is becoming more prevalent and more of a more important sort of value proposition for PMO tools. And what the words that I've heard and seen quoted from customers, we want to ensure smooth workflows, right? There's not a lot of ramp time to get up and running. We don't want pieces to have to be done in disparate tools and systems. We just want everything to everything to flow through smoothly. Excuse me. So more folks than ever have become casual project managers. Chuck mentioned on it. Our tool that we have for that is called Project for the Web. It's a much more lightweight, easier to use, more intuitive tool than the heavy duty Project Online implementation. And again, the thing that most sort of new age folks in the workforce, whether that's millennials or Gen Z or what have you, they're used to having tools that are just intuitive, right? There's like an iPhone or using Snapchat. There's no instruction manual. There's no training. You just open it up and you kind of figure it out. Okay, this is how it works. Here are the buttons I need to use. Whereas a heavier duty tool like a CA Clarity or a Plan View that might require a little bit more training and tribal knowledge to get up and running about how a customer is using that particular tool. Reporting, right? So a lot of the things I talked about, store changeover, new product development, general R&D, how are we doing, right? What are our projects finishing on time and under budget, and how can I use that information to develop budgets in the upcoming year? So what I've seen in the industry is the need for more robust reporting in terms of the project space, and a lot of executives are much more focused now on the near and dear projects that are going to be vital to their survival, right? How quickly can we get this curbside pickup project moving? How quickly can we develop the plastic barriers for our stores? Or did we allocate enough budget to those? Do we need more money? Do we need more people, right? So the reporting and status reporting is important to hit the ultimate objective, and that ultimate objective is that projects are completed on time and under budget. And Sean, my colleague, is going to talk a little bit more about it, but Chuck laid out a nice case for why the Microsoft suite of tools is a really efficient way to make sure projects get completed on time and under budget. And the fact that everything's evolved within the Microsoft ecosystem, whether that's Teams or Planner or Project for the Web or traditional Project Online and even heavy duty sort of PPM optimization, we're confident that we have a suite of project tools that fit the modern work management needs, especially in the retail and CPG space. So I think I'm coming up right on time. I'll happily kick it over to you, Sarah. And just again, if anyone wants to take down my information, here's my email. So if you're in the retail or consumer goods space, feel free to reach out. There's a couple of us. I may not be your representative, but if I'm not, I can point you in the direction of somebody who is, or just answer any general questions you may have about the industry. So that's it for me, Sarah. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for sharing, Roman. So again, if you have any questions for Roman, please type them into the Q&A and we'll speak to them at the end of the Microsoft Industry Expert session. And next up, we have Sean Kim. Sean Kim works with financial services organizations across the states to enable collaborative work and project management for business outcomes through cloud solutions. He has 20 years of experience in consulting, information technology, and project management in various industries. He speaks at many Microsoft and industry conferences and holds numerous certifications, including PMP, CISSP, and ITIL. So Sean, you're up. Could you please share your content?
All righty. All right, can you see?
All right, go ahead, Sean.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Rob, for hosting this great event. Hi, everyone. I'm Sean Kim. So back in 2002, I had a choice to make. So, I've been working in project space for a long time, not as long as Chuck, but still a decent amount of time. And back in 2002, I had this choice that I had to make, right? And at that time, I had just obtained my Series 7 license to work as a financial advisor. And then I got another job offer to work in information technology. So, well, I chose technology and fast forward 19 years, and here I am talking to all of you about technology and financial services. So this is the kind of story that, normally I would expand on during happy hour after the conference, but since this is a virtual conference, we'll just have to wait for the next one. Now, I'm sure everyone's heard of digital transformation, right? That's a term that's been going around for a while. But digital is really changing how work gets done in capital markets, in banking, and insurance. And every organization is looking to evolve, right? And using secure and compliant technology to really change their business, because this kind of innovation can have real impact. And the forces that we see that are driving organizations to change are first, rising remote workforce, right? We all know what this is. Just look at us now. We're all attending a virtual conference. So, I haven't been to the office in over a year. I haven't been on a flight in over a year. Yet studies show that workers have been just as productive, if not actually more productive than before. So financial services industry's greatest assets are the employees, right? Who are the heartbeat of operations and customer engagement and service. Now, whether on-site or remote, employees need the right collaboration tools that are more effective to partner with each other, right? To address business needs and customer needs. And as we start heading back to the office, workplace safety becomes a top priority to protect and keep our employees safe. Firms will start looking at the new hybrid work-life model, if we haven't already. And obviously, video conferencing, chat, and collaboration will play really a crucial role in helping people continue to work and collaborate and stay connected wherever or whenever they work. Now, in terms of legacy infrastructure and disparate systems, I'm sure you guys have heard of GameStop, right? Anyone invest in GameStop? This is normally where I would see like a show of hands, but I can't. Talking about volatility in the market, and volatility in the market and other key economic data show that continued downward pressure on cost. This means organizations need to save on cost and invest in areas to drive sustainable growth. So the crisis today is really accelerating organizations to move away from legacy systems so that they can save on cost while gaining some of the advantages of a modern system. And additionally, there's a drive for better customer experience calls, right? And that calls for banks to transform the legacy technology to support the new demand for the right experience. So siloed systems that don't integrate, that don't interoperate, they really fail to keep up with the new pace of business. And while the cloud was once considered a security risk, It's different now. Organizations are now looking to leverage the flexibility and scalability of the cloud, which is now safer and more compliant than what you could probably build in-house. There's also increasing and sophisticated client expectations, and Roman spoke to this a lot as well. The current crisis is also impacting customer expectations. A few examples, right? People expect to leverage digital, mobile, and phone since there's limited branches that are open with reduced hours. They expect consistent services across different channels. Safety within any in-person visits as the economy reopens. As an example, I just refinanced my house recently, and the rates were great, but they were comparable across many lenders. And for me, the differentiator was really the experience, all about the experience. As a somewhat tech-savvy consumer, my expectations were to be able to go through most of the process digitally. So I chose a lender that had a customer portal where I could see where I was in the process, what documents were needed from me, and get access to all of the disclosures and all that kind of stuff in one single location. So all of the signatures were done digitally as well. I sent a notary to my house for the closing. Overall, it was a super easy process. And how often do you get to say that about financing a mortgage? Now, complex regulatory environment. The financial services industry has one of the highest levels of regulations across all industries. So therefore, regulatory compliance and risk management remain top priorities as financial institutions navigate this new normal. And really, the data is key. The amount of structured and unstructured data that financial institutions need to analyze has grown and will continue to grow, probably exponentially. Insights into risk management and regulatory compliance is crucial and strategic for the industry. Financial institutions that best manage and monetize the data will be on a stronger path to stronger risk management, improved operational efficiencies as well. And then there's the disruptive business models. So the rise of non-traditional players and fintech players are forcing banks to really change their business strategy and embrace a new business model that blends some of the third-party products and capabilities along with the bank's own products and capabilities. And the risk of not considering this new business model is really extremely high. Banks that don't will be marked irrelevant among customers. And currently, environmental, social, and governance assets are 1/3 of all assets. So once considered a niche investment, ESG is really here to stay. And what we are hearing is that the FSI community is prioritizing cloud services to drive this digital transformation because of the ability to speed up deployment and lower complexity and manage upfront investment. So the pandemic has really accelerated digital adoption, addressing current needs while thinking of the future and balancing for the long term. And really the most visible is the shift to enable remote work. And this is how Microsoft approaches all of our solutions for FSI, including Project. So the service delivering differentiated customer experience, right? It's all about enabling the enriched data from siloed systems to flow through various engagement channels, all to enhance the customer experience. And empowering employees through teamwork. This is all about enabling the value and embedding digital collaboration into process workflows so that teams can have visibility to status and streamline handoffs and obtain answers to their questions in real time. This all resulting in increased productivity and better customer experience and of course cost savings. And modernizing core systems is about accelerating your product development, supporting your open banking models, and also unlocking new business models. And managing risk across the enterprise is all about fusing data across systems to deepen your insights and visibility into that data to improve risk management and facilitating regulatory compliance. So the Microsoft Cloud is really built on a trusted platform where organizations are enabled to have full control of your own data across the global footprint. And all of this, of course, comes with a robust partner ecosystem like Fragility, which extend the value of the platform with additional solutions of their own and address the most urgent challenges. So let's take a look at how Microsoft Project enables these core scenarios. First, empowering employees through teamwork. Microsoft Project, and this is a view of the project for the web. It's a very simple interface that allows everyone to use the tool, right? You don't need to be a trained professional project manager to use this tool. It's got a very intuitive, native, modern look and feel. It's, anyone that goes into the system can see exactly what's happening. There is an easy way to assign and update your tasks, so you know what's been assigned to you, what you need to work on. Very easy way to review and revise your project schedules. You don't have to be a scheduling expert or a certified scheduler to understand how this works. You can easily get tasks and milestones and status across all different projects. So it's not just a single project, one project at a time, but all your projects, all your work across the enterprise in one single place. We have a tool called Tasks and Teams, and some of you may have seen this already. And the concept of this is that you're going to be able to see your tasks across different tools in one single place, all within Teams. So right now you can see tasks that are in that are in To Do, that are in Outlook, Outlook tasks, and Planner as well, all in one place. And the future is that we'll be adding additional capabilities like Project, so that you can see your project task in this one place as well. And as you can see from the screenshot here, Teams integration, right? So not only we're not just concerned about managing your work and your schedules, project schedules, talking about how do you manage your project work, right? How do you execute on that project? And that's all about collaboration. So working on your project documents, maybe addressing your project risks and issues and change requests and all of those things, they can all be enabled with Teams, integrated with Project. Okay. So modernizing the core systems. So this tool is very simple. There is no desktop to install. As you saw earlier, that the first version of Project was the DOS version. I guess that wasn't a desktop, but the very first version of a project that I worked on was the Project 98, and it was cool. I learned a lot from that tool, and I still leverage Project Desktop a lot. At the same time, it can be a little complex for beginners to start using. So all of this system is available through the browser, which means there's no desktop to install. There is no desktop that you need to manage and keep updated or upgrade to future versions and all that. It's just one simple cloud service. You just access it through a browser, which means you can access it through any browser. So you don't have to be on a specific machine to even get access to it. And there's different ways to manage your work within this tool. There's a grid view, a board view, and a timeline view. The grid view allows you to look at your projects sort of like in Excel, and a lot of folks use Excel to manage their project schedules. Whereas the board view gives you a Kanban-like task board view. So if you want to manage in more agile format or methodology, you can do so using the board view. And if you still need a Gantt chart, or if you still want a Gantt chart, there's a timeline view that gives you that as well. And of course, I mentioned this all integrates with Teams for collaboration. Then managing risk across the enterprise. This is all about visibility and insights and transparency into the work that's happening across the enterprise. So we do have a Power BI. It works natively with Project Online, Project for the web, and it gives you all kinds of portfolio dashboards, resource dashboards, project status reports, and work and timeline views. Many different views so that you can see exactly what's happening, so you can make better decisions with informed with data that informs you on those decisions. There's also a roadmap capability that allows you to pull in milestones and tasks across projects and Project Online, Project for the web, Azure DevOps as well, Azure boards, and we'll be adding more to that as well in the future. So you can get the high-level, big picture view of the work. And, security and compliance really is core to the Microsoft Cloud. The ability for your financial service organizations to really protect your sensitive financial information while meeting industry standards, it's sort of what determines the success of the organization. So the Microsoft Cloud offers the comprehensive compliance, meeting the most strict regulations for FSI. And really, Microsoft, we invest over $1 billion annually just on security. So the idea here is that you can really leverage that hyperscale security and compliance with the Microsoft Cloud. And so with that, I believe I am at time as well. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise, Sean. If you have any questions for Sean, please type them into the Q&A. And again, we'll speak to them at the end of the Microsoft Industry Expert session. And next up, we have Jan Adams, and Jan has been with Microsoft for 6 years, working as a project specialist in the public sector and federal government vertical. Jan, if you could please share your screen, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thanks, Sarah.
All right, you're good to go.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, everyone. So welcome today. Thank you, Sarah and Rob, for inviting me to present on Microsoft Federal. As Sarah said, my name is Jan Adams. I'm a senior project specialist. I've been with Microsoft for about 6 years, working primarily only in project. In my prior life, I spent a lot of time adhering to these wonderful Microsoft project schedules. In my footprint of project customers, I cover all our U.S. civilian intelligence, Department of Defense, large government system integrators, and our tribal organizations for our federal footprint. Most of my customers do not operate in Microsoft's commercial cloud. They operate in what we call our government community cloud, which is primarily for our civilian market. We have a government community cloud, FedRAMP High, which we have segmented for our system integrators, and then our DoD cloud, which is our Department of Defense cloud, which is strictly restricted to .mil users. So this is kind of an overview of our cloud structure. Like I said, we have commercial, we have GCC, GCC High, and then DoD. Specifics with impact level security. For our GCC cloud, it's IL2, our GCC High cloud is IL4, and our Department of Defense cloud is IL5. And so as we go into the federal marketplace, Rob and Sarah had asked me to kind of present on the challenges we see in the federal market. You know, and I would say probably primarily, although all of these challenges are important, agencies and departments as a whole take an awful long time to deploy workloads. You're talking about, you know, in cases, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, you know, deploying all these workloads. Not only is there Exchange and Teams and you know, SharePoint and everything, but everything has to be transitioned as well. So imagine with all the complex processes and approvals that the government must go through, the time that it takes to do that. All in all, that really makes the federal market about, I would say, 3 to 4 years behind the commercial market as far as adopting products and really using them to their full potential. I think an agency-wide adoption of Office 365 cloud services is what I look for in a customer. We have quite a few of our DoD agencies that had not made the leap to online, whether it be Teams, whether it be OneDrive, or certainly Project, that now are in full swing of adoption due to COVID. So the entire Department of Defense had no way to communicate with one another once COVID hit. There was no off-premise telecommunication. There was no centralized, you know, file storage. There was nothing. So Microsoft put together a Teams tenant specifically for the Department of Defense in a matter of about 60 days that they could then communicate with. So they've seen over the course of COVID, and certainly that has made an effect, how efficient they actually can be working from home in a remote environment using the cloud services. I think another one of the challenges that comes into play is, you know, the IT and PMO, they're very disparate. Depending upon what department you're talking about, you might have, you know, 18 different CIOs in one department where you're working with different people, and their really goal in the project world is really to aggregate all their project data together. And that's certainly something Project Online does provide to them, as well as Power BI and the dashboards that we use. I would say my number one challenge, and it's not just on this presentation, but just overall, is letting our customers know how important it is that they bring a consultant on to do what the consultant needs to do to make you successful. I have seen agency after department fail with any type of project implementation, not specific to Project Online, but just the organization, process, and governance that goes along with it, and not accurate planning as to how long this endeavor actually takes. It's not a 2-week sprint, like they said earlier. It's someone coming in with the expertise to set you up for your processes, to follow your governance, that'll provide you with value once your data has actually been inputted into project itself. Another challenge in the marketplace that a lot of people don't think of in the commercial world is access to our solutions offline, right? Think of FEMA. FEMA has an organization that owns hundreds of thousands of Microsoft licenses and quite a bit of project at that. When they're in an emergency, they're not connected to the internet. So when I'm in New Orleans trying to, update my project plan, I can pull up Microsoft Project on my desktop client, make all my changes to my project schedule, and then when I'm able to sync with an internet connection, then I can sync it with Project Online. But it certainly gives me the ability to work offline. Additionally, a lot of federal government schedules are very, very large, thousands and thousands of lines, and working in an online simple product and trying to massage a schedule into how you want it to look and where you want it to be takes some time. And I think using an offline product, as a lot of the research we've done has shown, is certainly beneficial to project managers. I think lastly, and more of a mature process with the federal government, and certainly one that they all strive to meet, is really portfolio planning. How do I plan based on the budget I've been given? What are the best investments for my organization to, endeavor over the year? What projects are important for me to meet the strategic goals of my organization? So certainly the portfolio analysis portion of project provides them that. It certainly causes a lot of visibility and transparency into your project progress, which some people are a little nervous about, especially in the federal government, but it certainly does give a visibility to your overall project environment as to how you're doing as an organization. So how do we address these challenges here at Microsoft? Something Microsoft has done within the specialized technical unit that we sit in is to dedicate resources to encourage agency adoption of Office 365. Like I said, the federal government is about 3 to 4 years behind any commercial services. So imagine the United States Army was just onboarded on Office 365 on Exchange. Okay, there's many organizations, including those in the federal government, that onboarded probably 4 or 5 years ago. So certainly, like I said, with the processes and the approvals that are required in the federal government, it's really important that we, expend these resources to get the agencies to understand how much easier their workload can be, basically, when you transform to a cloud product. Project Online obviously allows for a central repository, right, to aggregate all your data artifacts into one place, being able to report on those, being able to provide transparency to your executive leadership as to how your projects are going. Dashboarding, certainly had a customer the other day that was interested to see if we could actually produce 3 different project status reports on one page. And, that was something I could show them how to do in about 5 minutes. So it was certainly very powerful. So I think, each agency has their own needs. There's a lot of CIPIC requirements. There's a lot of different uses for Project Online. Some people use the schedule management and the data aggregation into the portfolio views to basically see their project performance, when other ones really use it as a tool to really show them what are the best things to invest in or projects to invest in the upcoming fiscal period. Obviously, as I said before, access to the project desktop client allows the flexibility to work offline, utilizing obviously the enterprise templating that consultants will set up for you, obviously aid you in the adoption of any given process, making it simple and straightforward, but still maintaining all the complex abilities that project and functionalities that project does have. So that's obviously important. And like I said, the portfolio analyzer really allows people to, or organizations, to optimize their investments. I've actually seen organizations be able to gauge this and do this up to 4 times a year, so they can actually take the investment or the budget that they've saved by doing a project better than anticipated, and be able to invest those funds in another project that might have gotten sent out of the stack of those that we're going to do, just because maybe it was too high of a cost, or maybe the priority on it was just too low. So now we're going to talk a little bit about federal government use cases. What does the federal government use project for? And just so I can caveat that, I know some of my other Microsoft counterparts talked a little bit about Project for the Web and Planner. In the federal government, or any federal government cloud, Project Online is the solution that we offer. Project for the Web, which is our new project offering for task management, is really not available in any of these clouds right now. It's currently going through some compliance auditing, which is required by the federal government and FedRAMP to get it up to the GCC compliance standards. Certainly everyone wants to know when that date's going to be. I cannot share a date with you because I personally don't have a date, but if I were a guessing or a betting person, I would say late summer is when we can expect to see Project for the Web available in the GCC. There is no anticipated time period for GCC High and DoD, because obviously the compliance requirements for those clouds are much, much higher. So with that, talking a little bit about what does the federal government use Project for? One of the largest DoD entities, and just so we go through here, I'm not really going to name any agency names until we get to the end, adopted Project Online to manage their spend plans. So for their entire schedule management of over hundreds of thousands of employees, they manage the spend plans for a particular entity of a DoD organization. They have been able, Fragility actually was the partner on this, and they have been able to create some incredible spend plan dashboards that executives within the organization see, and senior leadership has really communicated throughout the organization how useful those dashboards are in providing them the information they're looking for. I would say civilian agencies are the most populated with Project Online. There's still obviously some Project Desktop users out there and a few Project Server users. We do have a huge organization that uses Project Server, so customized that we're trying to work with them and find a way that we can transition to keep all of their capabilities active. But they basically use Project Server currently to manage every single thing, every mission supported activity that comes into the department. So it's a tool and a solution that's used widely there, and one they have considered transitioning to online as well. I would say of all of our agencies, we have Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, throughout many labs and Department of Energy, National Park Service uses within the Department of Interior, the Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security. So you can see NASA, NIH is a big project user, HUD is a huge project user, and again, many DoD entities as well. We have a lot of federal system integrators that use the product in support of their government customers, and they normally sit in our GCC High Cloud. And then we also cover our tribal organizations throughout the United States, whereas many of those do sit in our commercial cloud. So I kind of have a whole bucket of different types of customers, and certainly want to cater to the needs, and Project Online is just such an awesome tool. But again, if I could reiterate, the simple fact that everyone needs some type of consultant or integrator or SME to help them in the beginning, to get them set up, to get their private site collection going, or their instance, however you want to call it, to put together a test and a development instance as well, just so the organization can function with their specific processes, right? So that's really important. I will say that I think Fragility is one of the best partners that I've worked with in my space. They have a very systematic yet laid back approach to providing their customers what they need to get them started and on the right track. Training is very important to everyone here at Microsoft and any product, and I think Fragility does an excellent job of that as well. I've had organizations say, oh, well, we can just leave out the training. You might as well not even configure or deploy the solution. Everyone needs to be trained because that's the way a product really becomes successful. And that goes to my last point, and that is everyone's biggest failure. I can't explain to you or tell you the particular agencies, but I have a lot of agencies in the federal government that have attempted to do this internally. The federal government has about 50% of their active workforce as contractors, and those contractors span from large system integrators to small organizations or companies that work with the federal government. And everyone thinks because they have a system integrator or a IT professional on site that they must know something about project. And that's really not the case. You really don't need to leave that decision of what type of consultant you're going to reach out to. Don't leave that up to your procurement people. That's really something that you all need to vet out as an organization and find out, which entity or which consultant works best with your organization, because everyone needs help to get it where it is. And, with Fragility, specifically, they're experts in their field. So with that, value and opportunity, what do I see? As I said with Project Online, when it's configured correctly, it works with your organization and not against it. Manage your projects and providing your transparency to senior leadership is really important, and it can positively benefit your agency or department. We provide, health, status, budget, and other KPIs in one views to allow project and program managers overall program portfolio progress at the click of a button. I can also address that coming through Teams, which I think is my next bullet. We have been able to integrate, Project Online through Teams and be able to provide senior leadership with a Teams channel, PMO status, where I can put in the top 10 project status reports. I can put in timelines. I can basically take any portion of my reporting and create dashboards that will provide that particular individual an entryway into project. I think utilizing Teams makes it much easier for senior leadership to visualize where their results are coming from, right? I don't have to get into this Project Online tool, go through my authentication. I can just enter my channel in Teams and access and look at, today's results. So that's certainly a big draw. So the opportunity certainly exists for all agencies and departments to effectively create and manage a collection of their projects, right? So you would be surprised at how many agencies still rely, or entities within the agency still rely on spreadsheets, right? Excel is probably my biggest competitor in the federal government, to be honest with you. When we go through portfolio analysis and we talk about, using the algorithms that project provides, there's a particular part of the tool that allows you to change that setting to manual as opposed to calculated. And one of my favorite lines is, if you change it to manual, you might as well just use Excel, right? Because Excel, you can move projects around and you can find which one's a CIO pet project, and you certainly can put things in order as to how you think your CIO is going to really want your projects to come out. But that has nothing to do with the strategic drivers of your organization and what's going to make you successful. So I certainly think that that's very important, as do all the agencies and department level entities that I work with. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Sarah. Here's my contact information. Pretty easy to remember, janadams@microsoft.com, no dots or anything like that. So if you are in the federal government or one of the accounts that I cover, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. Thanks, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jan. So we will now open the floor for Q&A. If anyone has any questions for Jan, Sean, Roman, or Chuck, please type them into the Q&A and I will read them aloud. So Chuck, it looks like I have a question for you from Steve. Steve's heard that Microsoft will only be investing in Project for the Web with no future enhancements to Microsoft Project or Project Online. Is that correct? Could you please share some insight there?
Yeah, it's correct in a way. We are definitely directing all of our current efforts and investment to the left side of the slide, with Power Platform and growing that. Project Online has been around for a long time, and we just don't get a lot of new requests for additional capabilities. We get requests that I'm aware of for integrating into other tools like Teams and things like that. But it's a full feature, robust, tool set as is. There is an ongoing project right now to look at its lifespan. Is it going to be 3 years out, 5 years out? There's no definitive date. We're going to continue to grow the project for the website of the house. We're going to continue to evaluate how customers are using Project Online. We're going to take a look at features that might be able to move over to Project for the Web. As Rob mentioned, our development process now has become very iterative, right? We just don't disappear for 3 years and come out and say, hey, new product, here's all the features and functions. So that's the answer we have. Is the investment completely gone? Can't answer that. I don't have access to the budgets, but is the effort being put towards Project for the Web? Absolutely. And there is an ongoing project to determine the overall lifespan of Project Online.
Thanks, Chuck.
And Sarah, I wouldn't mind. I noticed that the questions changed. There was one that was dismissed that was asking about Planner. Is it okay if I address that one?
Please.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the question was asked about, Planner not being a PM tool. I'm kind of a traditionalist, so let's first kind of define what project management. If you remember my one slide, I talk about structured versus unstructured. And for me, a structured tool is more project management. By structured, I mean if we develop a series of tasks and they're all related to a project, let's say, that there's a flow, right? There's some logic as which ones get done first, second, and third. That's a structure. And you can create that structure in Project for the Web. You can't create that structure in Planner. Planner is a set of discrete tasks that you would have to manually move around or represent somehow as being structured. As a PM tool, I mean, we can do projects in Project for the Web, we can do it in Planner. Heck, we could use To-Do. We can use a piece of paper. A piece of paper could be considered, project management tool. It's the structured versus unstructured. So let's start with that. There is on the roadmap capabilities to take a Microsoft Project for the Web, Microsoft Project Schedule and import that into Project for the Web. And there is also on the roadmap the ability to take a Microsoft Planner plan or a series of tasks and promote them or create a Project for the Web project. So I think the question was, about direct integration. There really isn't. Okay, you won't be able to create a task in Project for the Web and have that show up in Planner right now. The other point to make is what Rob was talking about is data. Right? If I have a project schedule and our vision is for that data to be in the tool of choice, let's say somebody picks Planner, but we still want the executives to see it, there is no connector, out of the box connector today to get Planner data into a Power BI dashboard. There are some partner solutions. Fluent Pro has one, CData has one, where we can get Planner data into a data source that can be consumed by Power BI. And I know that there's an item on the Planner roadmap that's being evaluated through user voice. So if that's something that's critical, you absolutely go out to user voice. So that's what what I was distinguishing about Planner not being a project management tool. It sits in the unstructured side of the house, not the structured side of the house. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chuck. And Jan, I've got a few questions for you. Is Project for the Web available for GCC customers?
Yeah, Project for the Web is not available in any of our government clouds. Like I said earlier, if I were a betting person, I would think late summer we might see Project for the Web in GCC, but no estimated time frame for GCC High or DoD, which is Department of Defense. Sorry.
And another question. anonymously, we had looked into migrating some of our project professional users to Project for the Web, and we were told it's not available to government cloud customers. Okay, again,
Correct.
Jan,
That is correct. It's not available.
thank you. I think another question for you, Chuck. If we'll be moving away from Project Online, will we be enhancing Project for the Web to incorporate resource management and strategic decision-making for the portfolio to Project for the Web?
As long as our customers keep telling us that that's what needs to be there through user voice. I can't stress enough how much the product development team uses user voice. If you're not familiar with that, I would go out there, take a look at what people are requesting, and vote. There is a lot of discussion about resource management. I know that. I have customers that want to do some level of resource management in Project for the Web, but resource management is kind of a broad term. What do we mean by resource management? And so we're going to be looking at that. I'm not aware of any discussions around any portfolio decision making, but again, keep in mind that one of the biggest values of Project for the Web is that we're building it on the Power Apps platform. And so we're going to be looking at partners like Progility that have customers that maybe want some kind of strategic decision-making model and using Power Apps to bring that to life. So is it out of the box today? No. Do we have it in the roadmap? User voices where you can look for that. But don't forget the power of the Power Apps platform that we're going to be leveraging a lot for these things. Hope that helps.
Thanks, Chuck. Do we have any more questions? If you have a question, please type it into the Q&A chat box. About 10 more seconds here. So it doesn't seem like with the options in Dynamics 365 that project operations would mandate those features in the Power Platform side of things. I think that's another question for you, Chuck.
This one may be a little out of my wheelhouse. It doesn't seem like the options in Dynamics Project Ops would mandate those features in the Power Platform side of things. I'm not really clear. I understand the question, and I myself, I'm not a Dynamics Project Ops expert. So Marty, if you want, reach out to somebody on the team that you picked up a note, or through Rob or Sally. I'm sorry, not Sally, Sarah, and we'll try to see if we can find somebody who can get that question answered from the Dynamics team.
Thanks, Chuck. And if you were going to a tool for a small IT shop, what would you recommend?
Well, Microsoft, of course. If I can jump in. Rob, his graph on how to select tools was really good. It's going to boil down to the requirements, right? Let's just take an example. If your IT organization, because of the nature of the projects required time phase data or time sheeting, then we would probably lean towards Project Online. If it didn't, then Project for the Web may be best suited. The key thing is just understand the requirements, how that ties to the decision-making process within your business, and then we can help you align what the right tool is. With that said, just kind of keep in mind, I don't think Microsoft's going to have one tool, right? It's going to be a whole bunch of different options. We just got to make sure that we're getting you the right one.
Thanks, Chuck. Another question for you. Are there any certifications for these Microsoft project platforms?
I have to check on the current certifications. When you say platforms, There is a certification for project for the Power Platform, and it's really robust. In fact, myself and my teammates here, Sean and Jan and all of us, Roman, we have to go through that. So we are getting certified on the Power Platform. So if you're looking at the project for the website of the house, you want to leverage the Power Platform more, there's absolutely some certification there that will help. Specific certification around a Microsoft project, I know there used to be, I'm not quite sure what the current status of that is.
And are there any suggestions for people to go, or why would you suggest people go to Project Online if you're not sure it will be available in the next 5 years or so?
Value and solving business problems, right? If Project Online is still the right tool of choice for what you're trying to accomplish, it's still a very valid value prop. There is going to be plans for migrating. We have commitment from the development team that they're not going to just automatically shut down Project Online. But I mean, think about how much things have changed over the past 3 years and how many things are going to change in the next 5 years. It's not going away anytime soon, right? It is being evaluated. And in your shoes, I would take a look at your business requirements. And if Project Online is the right choice, then that's the direction we would support you in going. And then as we evolve the other side of the house, if you start to find parity in Project for the Web and what it's bringing to the table, and you can use that, and it might fit better in your collaborative project management approach or your use of some of the Power Platform, then you can migrate over. So still very valid. In fact, I still have a lot of conversations today, as my peers do as well, about Project Online.
And Chuck, if I can add in, this is Roman, that, you know, the one you kind of touched on it, but essentially our Project Online customers will just be moved to Project for the Web as it will be built out over the next 3 to 5 years. So it's not like that tool set is going away. It's just going to be on a different platform and have a slightly different look and feel to it.
Yeah, no, good point, Roman. If we look at our history, remember I'm the old guy, we've re-platformed Project a number of times. It used to be a .NET app, and then we changed it to a SharePoint app. So it's evolved over the years. We're just going through another evolution. I think the big difference is we're not going to disappear on you for 3 years and go, surprise, new product. It's going to evolve, and you're going to see it month over month, quarter over quarter changing.
So I think that leads into our final question. So what will be available in Project for the Web?
Well, I guess it's 2 questions. What is available? There's plenty of content out there that'll tell you. What will be available would be more of a roadmap discussion, and we do have a roadmap that we can share with customers under NDA. So if you want to know what's available today, there's plenty of content out there that kind of tells you what capabilities are here today. If you want that futures roadmap discussion of what's coming down the road, yeah, reach out to one of us, and if you're, we can get you an NDA presentation and kind of share with you what's going on.
And if I could add to what will be available, that's really largely up to the customers. So the product team is really taking an agile approach to this. So they're really looking for feedback, and whatever the customers are asking for is what they're prioritizing. So that's really up to us, which is a good thing, right?
Absolutely, spot on, Sean. So user voice, user voice, user voice. If you haven't used that, I would get out there and spend some time there getting your needs documented.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your questions, and thank you Chuck, Roman, Sean, and Jan for your expertise.